level 2 ballet dancers. So this next video is actually going to be about dynamic stretching and ways that you can get your body to open up more quickly without having to do static stretches. Now, I've had some questions from you guys. One, Remy was asking about arabesques, and then I also had Nicole asking about arms as well too. So I'm giving you guys some feedback on that. Nicole, I've already sent you some information. And then Remy, I thought this might be a really good one to just share with everybody. And so we're going to go through a series of exercises today that are going to open up some of your superficial lines that go through your body. If you're interested, there's a book called Anatomy Trains. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the man's name right now who wrote it, but he talks a lot about the superficial, the deep superficial, deep muscle lines of the body as well too. And there's ways to connect into those and get your body moving that's actually going to release those muscles in a better way than static stretching. So I've talked about static stretching before, where static stretching, what tends to happen is we push into a muscle. So you're trying to push into it, your immediate reaction from that muscle is to push back and away from it. So it's not relaxing into that stretch. By doing dynamic stretching, not static stretching, you're actually loosening up those muscles and getting them ready to move for you. And so if, say, you want to go into an arabesque or even a développé, front, side, or back, if you open up and dynamically warm up around the joint that's going to be controlling that développé action, you're going to get a much better line with that leg, maybe a few inches higher as well too. And so you'll find this is a quick way to release those muscles. So dynamic stretching versus static stretching. One more thing I want to say about static that I've said before. Static stretching is actually not very good to do in a dance class. You don't never want to do it in the beginning. It could lead to tears or strains in your muscles. In the middle, if you hold the static stretches too long, so if I do static stretching, it's usually 15 seconds or less, but I also tend to move, so I'm making it dynamic. But if you hold more than 15 to 20 seconds, it actually shuts down the muscle. Not to the point where you can't dance, but it makes it less efficient. So you'll find when you get to center and want to do some releve and hold into the next step, it's going to be harder for that muscle to maintain the power to do that. So dynamic stretching is the best route for you to take while you're in class. It opens you up more, and even outside of class, if you do it regularly, it's going to help. I will be sending a video that I did not make, that Lisa Howell made though, about tucks and tilts. This is another great way even just to start class. I find that before I even start warming up and making these videos for you guys, I lay on the floor and I do these tucks and tilts series. It also makes my back feel a lot better, because when we tend to have pain, we tend to hold wherever that pain is. We're afraid to move. So we want to make sure we move that part of the body, and that tucks and tilts is a really gentle way to get moving. Same thing if you injured a shoulder, if you held it. The way that we used to take care of shoulders, I know it's different now, but when we had issues with muscle strains or sprains, is that we would hold them in one place for a long time. You're actually then making that muscle atrophy, and you actually do want to move that muscle in a range of motion that is pain-free. So things to think about. So the first thing that we're going to look at is superficial front line. So these are the muscles that run along the front line of the body, and this is going to help with things like arabesque, things to the back, because that's where the stretch is happening. The strength is happening in the back, but the stretch is happening through the front of the body. So there's 3 series we're going to do here. We start very simply, and you only want to stay with the first one if you can't stabilize it. So if you can't keep your pelvis stable and you can't find that movement that you need to find in there to reach up to the ceiling, I'll show you what it is in just a second. You want to make sure that you have that first before you move on to the next one, and then we move on to the next one after that. So the first one we're going to start with, I have some props for me. This is probably best done on a softer floor than a hard floor unless you have a mat. Because of knee issues these days, I'm actually going to put this mat underneath my knee. So I'm going to start with a kneeling crescent pose. It's a yoga pose basically. And so I'm going to take my left knee back, my right leg in front. I want to make sure that however I am, I want to make sure my knee stays above my ankle. So you don't want the knee to go past that. What I'm trying to do here is find a nice neutral pelvis. I'm pushing forward or leaning forward, but not really pushing my hip forward. So I'm kind of doing down and slightly forward, and I already feel a little stretch right here in my front hip flexor. So one thing we want to be careful of is pushing into that too much, because what will happen, and it can happen for some of us, is we open up that line too much. If you have the femur is shallow in the hip socket, some people have had dislocations doing this, so you want to be super careful. Most of us are probably okay. So I'm going to find this position. I'm going to reach up to the ceiling, and I'm going to hold that position there. Nice long line, so I relax my shoulders, trying to drop down through that hip, pull in my abdominals, and then I'm going to release that down. And I'm going to do that 4 times in a row. You can do more if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to release again. And then 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to bring it down. I have not started a cambrai yet, so I'm just reaching straight up through those arms. 2, 3, 4, and then I release it down. And then I'm going to change my side. I'm going to take my right leg back and my left leg forward, and I'm going to see if I can find, again, that nice alignment, knee over the ankle. And I'm letting myself feel like a lunge. I said push forward. That's really not the right thing to say. Feel like you're doing a lunge here, keeping your neutral pelvis. So I'm going to relax my shoulders, pull in my abdominals, reach up to the ceiling, and then I'm going to bring it down. I'm actually doing a little dynamic warm-up for my shoulder joints as well too. I'm going to reach up to the ceiling. Now my neck, even though I'm looking, I'm not squishing my neck back there. And I do it again 2 more times. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 1 more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down. Good. And then I'm going to bring it up to the next level. So I don't need that anymore because I'm not going to be on my knees. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to go into standing crescent pose. So I'm going to start with my right foot in front, my left leg in back. So I'm feeling like I'm going into that lunge. Now some of you might be able to lunge farther than I can with my knees. They don't allow me to go back that far. I am going to have a popped heel in the front. I'm still feeling that nice kind of neutral pelvis. And this is level 2. So this is just your standing crescent pose. And then I'm going to take my arms up to the ceiling. I'm going to feel, again, if I can feel that nice lengthened line. And then I'm going to drop it down and bring it in. And again. And down. I'm going to add a little bit of my head focus, but not much. And down. And 1 more time. Up. And down. And I'm going to step together. And I'm going to change sides. Same thing again here. So finding that lunge. This is my bad knee. So it's the one that's going to have a little harder time feeling this really nice lunge position. Check that that knee is over the ankle. You can pop that back heel into a little forced arch. And again, I'm feeling that nice neutral pelvis dropping down. I'm feeling the stretch in the front of my hip, opening up that line. And I'm going to reach up and open. I'm going to see if I can kind of settle into it a little bit. Find your breath and open. 2 more times and up and open. 1 more time and up and open and step back together. Now I'm going to go back into that same position again. This time I'm going to go into the more advanced version of the crescent pose. So only move on to this one if you felt stable in those previous 2. So I'm going to send the left leg back and find this alignment again. Now, in ballet terms, I would call this a cambrai derriere. So I'm going to reach up. Then I'm going to lift up out of my spine and arc it back. So what I'm trying not to do is sink in my low back. Think of getting taller and then back. And then you're going to sweep that around. You're going to do that again. 3 more times. Reach up. Find that nice neutral pelvis. Extend and back. Already, I am feeling, because I did some tucks and tilts earlier, my back is a lot happier than it has been, allowing me to go into that ombre line to the back, and step together, and I'm gonna change sides. So as a child, I was hypermobile. I'm still hypermobile. If you're hypermobile, you are your entire life. But I found that I always was sinking into my low back, and nobody trained me properly for that. And I feel that's one of the reasons why I now have low back pain. So I find my nice crescent pose first, neutral pelvis, and I'm gonna reach up, and I'm gonna take that little extension back into my cumbre, and I'm gonna bring it down and through. We do it again. Reach up. I'm gonna see if I can settle into it a little bit more. Relax my shoulders. Open and bring it back through. 2 more times. And up and open and back through. 1 more time. Up, open and back through, and step those legs together. So that's your first one for your superficial front line. So this is a good one to open up the front of the hips so you can extend those legs to the back. Also adding the cumbre to it as well too is going to help you to build some of that flexibility in the front, but strengthen the back to be able to get that arabesque line. The next one we're going to move on to is the deep front line. So we're going to go back to a similar pose we just did. So I'm in that lunge with the right leg in front, but this time I'm going to turn out the back leg. Very similar to like you're getting ready for warrior pose if you've done that before. So I'm going to find, I'm actually going to allow myself to have a little bit of openness here. And so I want to get deeper into my psoas. So my psoas is a pretty important muscle in here. It not only stabilizes the spine, but it actually helps to assist get the leg in front and develope over 90 degrees. So it's an important muscle. I'm actually stretching it right now, which is actually counterintuitive to the strength in the front, but what it's doing is going to help me for my arabesque in the back. So from here, once I'm in this lunge line, I'm going to take my left arm up, I'm going to arc to the side, I'm going to add my head to it as well too. So psoas is tricky to get, it's right in here, and that is what I'm trying to reach there. And then I'm going to sweep it around, and I'm going to do it again. I find a little deeper lunge if I can, that's more of a challenge. Up, over, arc, let your head be a part of it, and down and through. You might find each time you can go a little farther. Make sure though you always start tall, then go over. So you want to feel like your spine is getting taller versus crunching to the side. I've lost my count, so I'm going to do 2 more because I don't know how many you did. And arc, and over, and bring it around. And 1 more time. Up, and arc, and over, and bring it around. And change sides. So front leg is in that parallel position, back leg slightly turned out, more of a warrior pose. And again, find that lunge that you can find. You're open slightly here with the hips. This time my right arm comes up. Try to lengthen my side. I arc over, let my head be a part of it. Find that stretch, and then I sweep it around and bring it back through. And again, arc, up, and over. Find that head in there. Ooh, I'm going a little farther that time. And around. I'm counting this time, so now I'm on 3. I don't know if I did 4 or 5 on the other side, so if you guys remember, you can do 5 on this side if I accidentally did 5. Reach, find that stretch through, and bring it around. And the next one we're going to do is the superficial back line. So we've opened up the front of our body a bit. Now we're going to open up the back line of the body a bit. So this is actually a really good one to do as an assessment at the beginning of the quarter. I actually did it last quarter, but because of what happened and we had to move online at the end of the quarter, I didn't get a chance to reassess this at the end of the quarter. So this is basically a roll down you're going to do. So, and it should get better each time you do it. I'm pretty warm, and I'm also, again, hypermobile, so I pretty much touch the floor every time, but I notice that I can get deeper and deeper each time. Some of you might find that your fingertips are off the floor, but after 4 to 5 times of doing it, you might find that you can get your hands all the way down, or maybe you're a couple inches closer to the floor, whatever it might be. So I'm going to start at the top of my head, I'm going to roll down through my spine, pulling in my abdominals. Now, if any point you feel the back of your legs pull or stretch too much, you're going to bend those knees. At the bottom, I'm going to do a little extension out, lifting through the top of my head, but try not to squish, excuse me, squish my neck. If you need to, you can be in this bent knee position as well too. Then, I'm going to bring it back in. I'm going to plie. I'm going to roll up that spine. And I'm going to start it again. Roll down nice and slow. Again, bending when you have to. Again, you will notice that I don't need to bend. I'm actually getting my hands flatter to the floor here. And I reach, lift through the top of my head, out, and then plie. Roll back in through that spine. And up 2 more times. I roll down. And through. And reach. Through the top of the head. And plie. Bring it back through. And up. One thing I noticed that I need to be careful of, I do have hyperextension in my knees, and I've got to make sure that when I get down here that I'm not way back here pushing to my heels, but I keep that weight forward. And I reach through the top of the head. Nice deep breath. Plie. Roll back through that spine and bring it back up. And that's really excellent to do, again, for that superficial back line. So that's going to get you really warmed up. That's so much better than any static stretching you'll do to really be able to get those leg lines to move, your cambrai lines to move as well too. And so I would like you to try those out. So this next set of exercises are going to continue to help with your arabesque. We're going to do some work on the floor. Now, you may not have these items at home, so you can certainly do some work with just the press up without the foam roller, which is what I'm going to use today. I'm going to use the foam roller to help me out on this. So I'm going to start on the floor, and I'll demonstrate both ways with and without the foam roller as some things for you to think about as you go into these exercises. So I did manage to turn off the video. So the whole section I just filmed here was not on there. So I'm going to do this all again. Let's see if my body has the stamina to do it again. So this next exercise we're going to do, this is for the muscles along the sides of the spine and the back to help you go into cambrai, which also helps you go into arabesque. So it works the upper part of your body. You're actually working the lower part as well too. And the things I want you to feel are belly button lifted. I want you to feel the toes pointing through the wall. So they energize back through the wall versus feeling relaxed. So I feel like I'm pushing down and out through the wall as I take these exercises. So I'm going to take this foam roller and I'm going to start with my palms up first. And I'm going to drop my shoulders, I'm going to lengthen my neck, and I'm going to start to activate the muscles along the side of the spine as I spiral my arms down, and I try to find that elongated cambrai line. Now, a reminder again, only go as high as you can that you feel like you can feel stable. Go as high as you can where you are pain-free. If you find that you are having some pain as you do this, go lower. If you're still getting some pain, then you might want to come out of that and try some of the tucks and tilts series to help release the muscles around the spine of the low back and sacrum as well. So ideally, you're going to work onto your own sets. Like I would probably start with just 10 of these first. And each time I try to either hit the same height or try to get a little higher with each one. Just to really, really train those muscles in that back. From there, if you don't feel fatigued after 10, maybe try another 5, maybe try another 10, and you've done 2 sets of 10. And then build it up to 3 sets of 10 would be great. So one thing I described as well, which I discovered in the last video that was not recorded, that if you don't have a foam roller and you have a slick floor, you can actually use probably some gloves. My sweatshirt's long enough here that I can actually do this as well. On the floor without the foam roller. So I may not go as high, but I'm still going to think of the same things. Reach to the toes, pull in the belly button, drop the shoulders, lengthen the spine, and activate those little muscles along the side of the spine. Up, and then you're gonna bring it back down. Again, always slow and controlled, especially when it comes to back work. If you guys have tricky backs sometimes, like mine, I have to be super careful with all of this movement as I do it. And this is one of the reasons I probably haven't been doing very well doing my exercises, because it's scary. When you have back pain, it's very scary to move your back. But it's ideally one of the things you should be doing, even if it's small. So the next level up, if you feel like that was pretty good for you, don't do this until you're ready. Lots of dancers like to push into it, but I hope you guys understand. Don't do it until you're ready. Is that you could do the same thing, but bring up one arm to high fifth, and then back down. And you'd alternate sides. Bring it up to high fifth, and down. Boy, this one's a lot harder. I'm going to do one more on each side, because I already feel my back is very fatigued. And because I've done this twice now. And up, and down. And then the final one I'm going to do, I'm just going to do one on each side, demonstrating here, is that you could go to that high fifth, and then add the spiral, and then bring it back down and through. Still thinking about reaching through those toes, pulling in that belly button, add your spiral, and come back down. Then from there, I would give my back a little relaxation here, just for a brief moment into child's pose. And then what I like to do is not to hold the stretch for too long, especially if I'm going to do too much, do more stuff, is I do a little spinal roll through, come down, use my triceps to lower me back down, and then I'm going to push back up and reverse that action. And I do it again, feel the head drop down, pull in the belly button, up, use the triceps to lower you down, reverse that, and back up. I'm going to do 2 more times. And use those triceps, they should stay next to your body versus winging out to the side. And back, one more time. And back up, and through. So that's just one series on the floor. There's going to be a lot more that I add. You guys have so much to do already, but I'll be adding things over the next several weeks, and you guys can start to build your own home program of things that you feel like are working for you. And so you'll see me add more to that over the next few weeks. The next one we're going to do is actually a standing leg, stabilization of the standing leg, and then working on the stability around the hip sockets for arabesque practice and penché actually. Although it's not going to be an actual arabesque, we're going to do attitude. Hello, level 2 dancers. So this next one we're going to do is a standing practice to help you with your arabesques. They'll help you with a lot of other things as well too, like penchés and attitude. We're going to do it in attitude, as I was saying previously. So we're going to start. I'm going to use the bar for some support. You can again use whatever you have around you to help you with some support. The ultimate challenge would be able to do this away from the bar. I'm going to do it with the bars just so I can really show you guys what to do. We're going to start in a first position. We call this the waiter bow, the waiter bow. So those of you who take jazz with me, I think it's just Emerald right now in this class. When you take jazz with me, we've been talking about tilting. So the idea is that when you go to tilt, your body stays in the same position versus laying it out or going into extreme positions. So I'm going to try to activate my back leg as much as I can, but I still want to think of the idea that I'm tilting and coming back, and that's what happens in a penché as well too. So all of this again is going to help you with your penchés, your attitudes, your arabesques. So I want to think of my shoulder down. My hand is on my hip, so I can kind of feel where I'm going to take that hinge or tilt forward. Again, with my low back the way that it is, I'm going to start nice and low with my leg. I imagine most of you will be able to get that leg up to 90 or close to 90, maybe even beyond for others. But if you're like me and need to take it lower, that's fine. But I want to feel it activated. So I don't want it to get droopy. This is one of the reasons why we can't stabilize, is because your whole body's not working together. If one thing's doing all the work, it's going to tire out quickly. But if you get your entire body to do its job, then usually those exercises are a lot easier. So I'm gonna take my right leg back into my attitude position. Still thinking about my pelvis staying forward, but it's my thigh that's rotating out, an elongated leg there. So I'm gonna imagine that I'm gonna tilt forward, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm gonna tilt it back up, 6, 7, 8. Now only tilt as far as you can go. I've got really loose hamstrings, which allows me to tilt more, but I also have to remember not to go back into my heel. 2, 3, 4, and back up. 6, 7, 8. Now I'm trying to lift my leg higher. It's not going higher, but my tilt is giving the illusion that I can get that leg up there. And up. I'm going to do one more time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. 6, 7, 8. Finishing again back to first position. So I did 4 because that's how I'm feeling comfortable doing right now. You may be able to do more of that. Again, build a set for yourself. So for everybody, we're at all different levels. Take your own challenge there. How many can you do? Again, pain-free. You probably should be feeling sweaty and tired, but not painful. So I'm going to go now with my left hand, feeling where I'm going to hinge at my hips. I'm going to take my left leg this time into my attitude. I'm a little too close to the bar there. So I'm trying to keep that engaged. This is actually working my hamstrings. Got 3 of them in there. And my glutes, most of my glutes. So I'm going to lift that leg up. I'm going to tilt, lean forward. I can use that bar to help me pencher. And then I'm going to bring it back up and find my stabilized position again. It's good to kind of check yourself as well too. Can you do this with a gentle touch on the bar? And bring it back up. Notice that I don't take a nose dive. So I'm keeping this in the same alignment and not letting my head drop and pull me down to the floor, which it will do. So that's part about keeping the whole body activated. Lift those shoulders. My eyes are actually not going to look down at the floor in front of me. They're going to look beyond me and down and back up. So they look beyond the room. So that's your challenge on that. You can continue to challenge yourself and do a little bit of overloading of the muscles, so making them work a little bit more than they probably want to, but just to get them to build up that strength. You can also go ahead and try, I'll use a little bit of balance of the bar here. I'll try my left leg first actually. In that attitude position, you can either take your arms in second, high fifth, fourth. I typically like to do this 4th arm, and I'm going to turn towards my inside leg. This is a promenade. So you're adding an extra step of stability to it. Again, just like adding a tilt, now you're going to add a turn. So promenade is pivoting on the ball of the foot, kind of like those old music boxes that you would open up, and you'd see the ballerinas twirl inside. I'm sure they still make those, so maybe they're not old. But I'm going to see, maybe not so successfully, let's try here. I'm going to take my arms into the 4th. I'm going to look over my left hand. I'm going to take my attitude, and I'm going to see if I can take that promenade all the way around. And then I'm going to lift it arabesque, and I'm going to close it in. Now, hopefully you'll see on the video, but I'm going to say this in case I didn't. In my attitude leg, I'm going to see if it can stay at the same level all the way down, that it doesn't bounce or it doesn't droop. So that's going to be another exercise to help develop those arabesque muscles to get those legs to lift up there. So we're going to try the right leg now. My right arm's going to come up, coming to my attitude. Now some of you, again, will probably be able to lift your leg much higher than mine, so please do that. But whatever height you are, again, I can't emphasize enough, keep it the same height or try to take it higher as you're going around. So feel, I forgot to say this, I like to say this in class, the separation of your thighs. So your thighs shouldn't get closer together, they should stay far apart. So I extend my left leg, I find my attitude, take my promenade, and then challenge yourself to send it out to arabesque before you close it in. Now I would recommend doing that a couple of times or seeing if you can do more than one rotation. and see if you can stabilize all of that together. Again, that's a promenade. I have to look at the meaning, but I feel like it means like walk, to take a walk, basically. But I'll have to look that up again for us. So I'll get that in time before I post this video to you guys. So those are some exercises for you to work on your promenade. So it's not a combination, but these are some important exercises for you to do. I would love to see you, not send me your entire workout of these, but send me the second half, the waiter bow and the promenade. And that's what I would like to see as one of your assignments for next week. So before I put my living room back together, I actually had one little last creative thought that you guys might want to try. I was actually thinking about doing it with my stools, but these are way too high for me. So I am going to try it with my bench. So this is a bench goes to my dining table. And this is an idea that I had, because I talk about this when we do promenades in class, that you imagine that your thigh is staying at table height or chair height or whatever it might be. So it skims over the top. This actually might be a tiny bit too low for me. I'm gonna find out right now, so this is all an experiment. But if you had something that was at a pretty good height for you, that you could feel the little lift over the top and around, this might be fun to try. Well, I say fun. To me, it's fun. We'll see if it's fun for you guys. So I'm gonna bring my arms up to fourth. I'm gonna take my attitude, and I'm gonna take my promenade, and make sure my leg stays over that bench. And then I find my extension and close it in. Whew, I was worried. I thought I might hit it knowing my legs these days. So I'm gonna try my second side and see if that's any different. I did find myself actually trying to lift my leg a little bit more as I was going over the surface, because I was imagining that my leg would maybe hit it, knowing the height of my legs these days. So I'm going to take my left attitude, promenade, find that lift. I'm going to extend an arabesque, and I'm going to close it in. Whew. I actually really enjoyed that challenge. I wish I had something in between my stool and my bench. I'll have to find something I can do to practice that way. All right, enjoy that, you guys.